I'm not gonna be ready on my last day. Never gonna be ready, man.
Adnan, he's with us.
What's up, guys?
What up?
Our former colleague.
Hey, not former.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Well, when this is released, it'll be former for sure.
That's fair. Days former.
Yeah, this guy's leaving us.
What's your typical turnaround in releasing?
A week.
Yeah, it'll be out on Monday.
Come
It'll be out on Monday.
It's gotta be current events, man.
It is current. It's Thursday.
Yes, current-ish.
Something happened yesterday. If I listen to it on Monday, I'm gonna be like,
Yes.
We need a whole like media producing team or something. We need some editing team in the background.
I can only work so fast, you know.
I know.
You know, how many of these are
So many
done
things going
editing at like 11 o'clock on Sunday night when I'm like, shit, fuck, I haven't finished this yet.
Yeah, getting your
It's like a project.
getting your wigs done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I have a hard-hitting question.
Already?
Jesus, coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
I need to warm up.
Oh, okay.
This will warm you up, okay? And we had a conversation a couple years ago, right? Adnan's been with us now for 2.5 years, something like that.
That's right.
He's
Yeah.
been through the growth of the company from pretty much startup stage to when we transitioned to what we are now, this giant corporation. No,
This huge mega corp.
no, but like an actual legitimate bigger company. So, yeah, question for you. As a Muslim, why are you laughing? What are you laughing, man?
Continue.
Go ahead. Yeah.
How did you react during 9/11?
I was first of all 11 years old.
Yeah.
So
Wait, hold on. What's line 11?
9/11.
Oh, because you can't say it on.
No, I just slurred it.
Oh.
9/11, man.
I swear I thought you said line. I was like, is that like a subway track that I'm unaware of?
No.
He hesitated.
Yeah.
He hesitated.
The reason I'm asking
I
this
thought you were
for
doing like the
people who don't
TikTok
know-
thing when you change like a word so you can actually put it on TikTok.
Oh
and
yeah,
not
yeah.
be-
No.
Anyways,
No.
carry
I
on.
just slurred it. I'm a little bit, I slur sometimes.
Wasted. 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 o'clock.
The reason I asked this question, hold on, for those, I'm not a racist. it's not that. It's that you didn't live in this country at that
That's right,
time.
yeah.
So that's why.
So Spiro knows the story, but I lived in Saudi Arabia at the time, which is, when I first told Spiro this, he laughed a little bit. And
Jesus.
Well, I mean,
I guess he thought it was ironic, but yeah, I was in middle school and I remember it very well. Like I'm not one of those people that has very strong memories of the past, but this particular one, for obvious reasons, I do remember. And it was in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, and we'd come back from school because I think it happened in the 9 a.m. slot.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah.
So it was about 3-4 p.m. there, and we used to get home by 2 p.m. I think from school. And I remember this very vividly because my mom used to nap. She used to teach at the same school I went to, so we used to come home together, have lunch, and then my mom used to go nap, and my dad used to come back home and like take a siesta as well. He used to go back to work after an hour. So I remember like watching TV and flipping through the channels. It was 2001. There was no internet as well. There was internet, but it was still a time when you go home and watch TV. So I come on BBC and it's breaking news. And as a kid, I don't follow the news, but breaking news. And,
Yeah.
And this is the time when breaking news was serious. It
Yeah.
wasn't.
And it's like it's interrupting every channel, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is.
It wasn't
pay
a
attention.
perpetual like 24/7
Everything's
Yeah.
breaking
Yeah, now
news.
it's always breaking news. But so I put it on. I'm like, there's smoke going through this building, and I don't know what. I knew what New York City was, but I didn't know what WTC and all that was. And I'm watching it, and this was the first tower that had been hit. So I was watching it live as the second got hit, and I can tell it's a big deal because there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's everywhere. Like you said, it's taking over the entire TV, all the channels. And then my dad wakes up. He is walking back out to, and he just looks at the TV and he stops, and immediately I could tell it's very serious because normally he's in a hurry to go back to work. And then just from there we're just glued to the TV all that whole evening, and things unfolded, and that's why I have a vivid memory. But yeah, I moved to Canada 3 years later, and I think the whole post 9/11 world had it had exploded into like what it was. The war had started, I think, in Afghanistan, and but by the time I came here, I didn't feel like there was a little bit of remnants of discrimination or whatever towards Muslims. But my memories are just being like 6 hours of TV that day and just watching things unfold and honestly learning a lot about the world, like learning what terrorism is and you know, understanding how the U.S. kind of works, like the president and you know, and honestly, I don't know if this had an impact, but I've always been into politics since, like just following the U.S. politics and it probably has a little bit to do with this, but yeah, that's my story.
Isn't that a pretty crazy story? Like,
Yeah, what a fun way to start. But yeah, it's funny. I think I guess it depends on the age too, because I think we must have been around the same age. I think I was in grade 6 when it happened. But I think everyone can remember where they were when it went down, right? Like I think we got like ushered out of our grade 6 class and everyone went into the library kind of thing. And they rolled in the TV on the stand kind of thing, like the TV tray. And we all just, I don't know why they decided it was great for a bunch of 6-year-olds to sit in the library and watch this specific breaking news together without our parents or anything like that. But
it was probably for the teachers.
Yeah.
The teachers are probably hey, what is going on right now? Are we about to go into this giant world war?
Yeah.
Because imagine that happening today. I couldn't imagine it happening then. I think that's why it was so shocking.
Yep.
Is that when it happened, no one expected it. And like the whole world changed
I mean,
after.
you probably don't have
Yeah, it really did change things.
live memories of it, right? Because you were probably too young.
I remember at the same time I had my dad's uncle passed away, so I have memories coming home from school and my mom completely like bawling and grabbing me. I don't know if it was that or my uncle passing away. I can't differentiate the two, but it was one of those. And I'm maybe it probably happened both times, right? Because it's a pretty terrifying scenario. But being in Saudi Arabia while it happened is kind of
yeah. But I mean, again, I was in like the immigrant diaspora, so
because you're not originally from there.
Yeah. I was an immigrant there too, and like I remember this because it was a Tuesday that it happened, and the next day, in Saudi the weekend is Thursday and Friday, so Wednesdays are like our Friday over there.
Gotcha.
You know, kids are excited, the weekend is here, and that particular Wednesday we had like a school event where you don't really like go to class. It's just like a big party. People bring like food and so we were kind of excited about that. And so like, and anyway, we were kids. We're not going to talk about stuff in school, but it kind of got overshadowed. And then, you know, as kids, we kind of moved on from there, but it was still in the news for the next like months or years.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of, because I was too young to like really see adults, how they reacted to it or like talk to them, including the locals. But, you know, it was seen as a tragedy for everyone. And it was just shocking. Just when the towers fell, it's just like, how does that happen? Like,
Yeah.
it's still kind of like almost like an imaginary thing where not only one, but 2 towers.
Yeah.
Same, like, you know, I've been to New York City so many times since.
See the big
crazy.
holes,
Oh
the
man.
big like ponds or whatever they're called.
Memorials.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a memorial.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I've been to the Ground Zero Memorial, and it's
Greek church was also destroyed. No one talks about that though. They built it up.
sure.
fucking
It's really
I
nice.
mean, there was Building 7. There was
A lot of stuff happened.
Yeah.
that day.
Pentagon. Yeah.
yeah. You don't. I think at the moment too, like when it all went down, you didn't at least age like the severity of it doesn't really like hit you at all, or like it was just a piece of news and like yeah, everyone's freaking out and stuff's happening, but you're 11. Like it doesn't really like sink in.
Exactly.
And then like every now and then you have a video that just kind of like resurfaces.
Yeah.
And you're like,
they come up all the time.
oh fuck. And then now rewatching or kind of like visiting that whole day and everything around it, you're like, oh yeah, okay, this is it genuinely like shaped how a lot of things happen, especially around travel like these days.
You both have kids now, right? It's
Kinda crazy.
It'd be different.
Yeah.
Experiencing that with children, being like, what's going on here? Like, I got to protect my family. What's this? Shit's going down here.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good point, yeah, because kids are very impressionable, right? So even now, anything I introduce to them, like a new thing, like I recently introduced, I think I told you, but I introduced WWE, like late 90s, early 2000s. And it was in its
Attitude
peak.
Era.
That's the era.
The Attitude Era, exactly. Like WCW as well. And like, they love it. Like, they're like, they already know like 7 names And I mean, that's the thing. When they watch something new, it hits them, and they have no concept of things before, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
like they don't understand what exactly is the history and how things work. So yeah, just to imagine if I had kids and that happened then, it would just be to explain that to a kid would just be impossible. Like I have a 5 and a 3-year-old, so they're too young to. At 11, I was still had some grasp of events, but for somebody that is in primary school and
no idea the severity of it.
Yeah, exactly. Even with the Ukraine war, actually.
Right.
Now that we're talking about geopolitics,
This is gonna get flagged.
Yeah,
This video is gonna be.
my daughter, when it happened last year, she heard about it in school and she was asking me like,
She's 5 or she was 4
at the time she was 4.
Yeah.
But she saw the flags everywhere in cars, the blue and yellow flag, and I had to tell her like, there's a thing called war, and and she was like, why does that happen? But to explain like a tragedy like 9/11, I don't know what I would say actually. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you don't have to explain that.
Yeah, let's hope we never have to explain that.
We talked about this for 12 minutes now.
So, wait, where'd you move?
You're welcome
when you
to,
came here?
Mississauga.
14.
Yeah.
Mississauga.
Straight to
Okay.
Mississauga.
Yeah.
I've kind of been there since in that area. So, like I did have a bunch of friends that lived here then, and same thing. They got taken out, or they brought the TV into class, and everybody just stopped everything they were doing and followed that. Yeah, you want to segue into something?
Yeah,
else,
let's.
or-
I'll segue
why don't you
into
shift
something
gears
else.
into some positivity here.
Yeah, positivity. Okay. What else could I ask? No, I was gonna say. So Adnan and I, it's been great having you around. He's a great tennis player. We've played a lot of times. I have beaten him.
Not enough though. We haven't played enough.
Enough for me to beat him. That's all
Wait.
that matters.
One time? Did you beat him once?
I-
Sorta?
Yeah, I
Softy?
beat him once, sort
All
of.
right.
It wasn't a full game, but I beat him in the game we were playing,
Yeah.
and I will take that. And then we're probably never playing again. So I think that was the last time we
Never
played.
say
Was
never,
it?
man.
Was it the last time we played? And I
depressing.
got the win, and then we just never played again.
That's how
We
Spiro
played with
works.
Simon though.
Oh yeah.
I'll get the win and then cut it off.
Yeah. So
It's
what's next for you?
Next is still property management, just closer to home, and for people that don't know, which no one that's watching this will know, I've been with Elevate. I've been working with Spiro, Phil, in the same office for the last 2.5 years, and it's been great. It's been an amazing journey. Like Spiro said, it's not the quantity of the company, or like we haven't grown into a massive company, which was never really the idea here, but it's the quality of everything and how Spiro himself is an example of growth. Phil, myself, the property management, I guess the system that we have. I was telling Simon yesterday, our CEO, that initially there was every weekend almost where we had to come in for some emergency, and now that just never happens. Now it's like once in like 3 months where I might have to address something over the weekend, and that just it tells us like how we have kind of improved everything. There's Larissa as well, where she should have been part of this podcast, to be honest.
We've been trying that one for a while.
I don't think we're allowed to have them on. That's why you're allowed on, because you're not an employee soon. So this is the tea. We're dropping the tea. Here's the hot gossip of Elevate Realty.
This is gonna be the lamest podcast ever. There's
is.
not a lot of hot goss.
No.
That's true.
But it is it does actually say a lot about just how the things have improved and how the system has grown, and the people that have been in place have just put iteration after iteration after iteration, a little piece to make your life a little bit more manageable than the chaos of always running around with your head on fire that was previous.
Exactly. Yeah, the portfolio has grown, and we have a bigger client base for sure. But it's the quality of the business that has really gone up. And
it's really tuned in these days.
yeah, and it's 30 months. So 30 months in a lot of other businesses or sectors is nothing, right? But I have just seen such a crazy growth, and I think part of that has to do with their new office as well.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I think the size too, the size of a team, keeping kind of like a tight ship and like high quality, you really can execute quickly. It's kind of the typical big conglomerate, big bank or government or whatever. It's the pace at which that can move versus the pace a startup can move. It's funny now. There's a lot of people going from all these tech layoffs and things. People going from the tech space to some government job, some bank job, something, and they're like, I'm done by noon. what do I do? What do I do with my life? Because you're
Imagine.
used to such a different pace, right?
Yeah.
It's nice. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good for like
I have
life
a
balance.
source. I have a source at the Eglinton line there. I'm not gonna say
Oh,
who.
okay.
And I was like, "What's
done
going on?"
soon?
Something came up. So there was a video that surfaced on TikTok, Instagram, and it's actually a realtor, I believe, from Oakville or one of those suburbs, and he was just comparing it to other works of art or human feats that we've created,
Okay.
like the pyramids were like all like stuff like I don't know exactly what it was, comparing the time it took
Pyramids,
to
LRT.
build like these crazy
Yeah.
things or like these huge train lines that are like 10 times the size in China and it's like this was by far the longest with all the projects.
Yeah.
So it was funny. So I sent him that TikTok. I'm like, what's going on here? And he's like, dude, it's all super corrupt. Like it's all money laundering. They're just kind of like making this project go long and money's changing hands here and there. And
Right.
the project's
And they
getting so
just
expensive.
Hold the city entirely hostage during this whole process
Yeah.
for a decade or more.
And it makes sense. That's exactly why government is inefficient.
Yeah, the bureaucratic
That's actually
processes.
That's
Specific,
the
like
specific,
that project is.
Yeah, it's like that's the direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you need a balance. You can't go all the way. You know, the Chinese system where
That's all government.
they're just. I mean, yeah, but
yeah, it is
it's
all
like-
government, but it's
yeah,
one
it's like,
government.
let's not, or I should say more like countries in the Arabian Gulf, like Dubai or Qatar, where if they need to build something, it's gonna be done. Like regulations don't exist.
Yeah,
Right.
But
People's
it's
rights don't
hypocritical
matter.
to say that because how do you think our cities were built? The same thing. It was the Italians and all those people that came and died on the
Yeah,
job.
but maybe
and
we learned
were
from that, and that's why we have.
No, we didn't learn from it. We just did it and then developed ourselves, and then we don't have to do it anymore. But it's so hypocritical for us to say you can't do it, even though we did do
but
it.
we're talking
and it
about
wasn't
right
we.
now
I'm
is
saying
like-
we. None of our families were out of maybe
yeah.
you.
What?
Some of your families are probably here.
maybe.
Yeah, but my family was in
Grandparents.
Greece during all that,
Parents.
and your family was in Pakistan,
India,
India,
Wow.
North India.
no, North India, Kashmir. It's
Exactly.
it's
There you
debated. It's debated.
Yeah,
I just
disputed.
dissed them. That's
Disputed.
I'm gonna send that to all his friends.
No. Disputed.
Yeah, disputed territory.
But no, my point is like we're complaining about the LRT and how slow the process is, but part of it is like it's a bureaucracy. There's corruption for sure, but part of it is there's regulations and there's there's things they have to do so that pipelines don't burst in the future.
Yeah.
People don't get displaced. I'm not saying they're doing it perfectly, but like what China does is they just go and build and Qatar does they just,
And then they end up tearing it down when they're like halfway completed a project, and they're like,
Yeah.
never mind.
Too
We're
much.
either out of funds or we have an entire like
ghost
basically a ghost mini city with like 10 buildings, and sand is now expensive because all the concrete went to China to get torn down. Oh well. But yes, I think we have policies and regulations and things that are going to make these projects take longer. Try and get any project done in the city, it takes longer. But that's also probably a pretty good example of a project that's
You're
fucked
right,
up on a
I
few
mean,
different levels to get to the point that it is. Definitely not a smooth project, even abiding by all of the like checks and balances and
even
checks that
looking
were
at,
written to other
places
people.
like New York City, how their subway line is, and I guess Toronto wasn't just originally not as well planned.
No.
Because NYC, like the roads are so wide and like
Yeah.
everything is kind of like how did they figure this out 200 years ago when
I don't think I personally don't even think wide roads are the answer. I think that was the wide roads were more so created after World War II.
He's about to go on a bike lane rant. Carry on.
Well, this segues to my next question for you. But
How do you feel about bikes?
no. So what I'm saying is, Toronto's actually, I know this is a hot topic, but the transit system isn't that bad. People like to rip on it, but we have streetcars. We're one of the only cities in North America that continues to use streetcars, but they're decent. There are delays and all that. We've done new projects like on King Street where you have to make a right at the next block. You can't just drive straight on it. That's still a thing, right?
I think so.
Pretty sure that's still a thing. They're doing
East
a
of
lot.
Bathurst.
There's a lot of one ways for that example. And the reality is you don't need to drive downtown if you're downtown. It's only if you're not from downtown. You need to drive downtown.
Only if you're coming in
Exactly.
from somewhere that's not transitable to begin
But,
with, or
for
you
example-
need to like you're showing multiple different properties all
Yeah,
over the
it's a
place,
little
or
bit
you need
tougher,
to
sure.
bring material for something, a construction project or what have you.
I
right?
honestly always walk if I have showings downtown, and then I'll take worst case I'll take an Uber. I've never have actually needed to take an Uber, but worst case I'll do that or take a bus because it's easier. But usually you can just tackle showings by walking, and it's the same amount of time. And you're not
assuming all
jumping in
your
cars.
showings are
That's
like
proper
tightly.
downtown, right?
That's I'm
you've got to
talking
be
about
all of
proper
your stuff's
downtown.
got to be like tightly
Because
located.
the rest of the city is all suburb, right? Like you go to anyways. All right, Phil had to step out because he has work to do, so we're just gonna end it off. Also, our memory card may have been full of memories, so we had to stop. But
Very professional setup here.
yes, we're trying. Are you dissing us? Jesus.
I don't know, man. It's my first podcast. So.
Okay, so what we were talking about before Phil left was about the city a little bit and cars and how it's set up, the TTC line. I guess the last thing I'll ask you, because you did grow up in Mississauga, so suburbs. I'm assuming one of the side streets in a suburb, probably a bigger lot of some sort, and all your friends were like that. So more traveling, a lot of car dependency. How was it growing up? And you still live in a suburb now. How is it living in the suburb and then working in the city? Minus the commute. We can take the commute out, but what's the difference there? Have you spent a lot of time in the city before? Or?
Just for work, yeah. In the previous job, again, traveling around Toronto, more downtown actually. So
Sorry, wait one second.
yeah,
We'll edit this too. Phil, edit this.
I'll hold it. Yeah.
No, here, let go. Just hit a little bit closer, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, like I was very car dependent, growing up, and I did go to a school where I walked, so that was good. I mean, I walked to my high school. I had a bunch of friends that got dropped off, so that was a little different for me. But yeah, in terms of Toronto, I mean, I worked here a lot. I can't imagine being a kid in Toronto, honestly. Like,
Really?
It's weird to me, yeah, because even though like we're on like 40 kilometers apart, the culture in Toronto is very different. Like,
How so?
I feel like the things you've told me about you growing up here in school, I think it does make a big difference. Like suburban schools, like the one I went to at least, very different process with everything. But that's my experience. I mean, there were tougher schools as well in Mississauga. I just was lucky enough not to go to one of those. But I mean, working in property management, I do meet a lot of people here that live here. So it's weird for me to imagine growing up here with everything. I mean, even the houses that at least we manage, they're from a different era. And maybe I have that impression more because in my previous job, it was not, I was more in the commercial side. So I didn't really see houses. I didn't see how people lived. But ever since, working at Elevate, I've seen how people in Toronto live. And again, that might be just this neighborhood. And this neighborhood is different than the next neighborhood. So, but yeah, I enjoy coming to the big city and like, for work, for fun. But I think at heart, I'm suburban, like, and I do enjoy the quiet, tranquility of the suburbs. And I don't mind driving, so it's fine. But yeah, I mean, I know you've sort of lived in this area most of your life. So
Yeah.
that's also very different to me because I grew up partly in Saudi Arabia and then moved here. And I did live a little bit in Kashmir in my hometown as well, but no schooling. So I don't really consider that anything. But I've been back a lot. So to me, the concept of somebody living in the same neighborhood, growing up, working there, getting a job, and then potentially getting married in the same neighborhood, it's very unique. Like I can't imagine that. Like I've lived in like 12 different houses in my life. So, but it's different experience for everyone. Like I think Toronto has amazing culture, amazing food, and like people are great here for the most part. But if I want to go back home in the evening, I would like to go to the suburbs.
Interesting. You're brainwashed, man.
I guess, yeah. I guess, and it's also like most of my friends are still, around there, and it's just a comfort,
I think it's exactly that. Like my girlfriend says the same thing because she's from the suburbs as well. And when you grow up there, it's all you know, right? Like a large part of what you know is that feeling. So when you think of home, you think of the suburb. You think of your house or the house you grew up in or the house you're living in, and it does change. And I'm sure if I lived in the suburb or grew up there, I would feel much similar happiness there and equate that's what life should be like, because that's all you know. But I think for me, at least, when I travel is the big thing. And when I travel and I go to a new city, I don't go to the suburbs. And when I'm traveling, I go to the city. I always get a sense of happiness when I'm in a city, because what I've realized is that I believe it's because of how walkable everything is. Because when you go to a city, I know you like to go to New York, many times, and you're there and you're in your hotel, and then you walk 5 minutes and you're at, a play, and then you walk 10 minutes and you're at a restaurant, and 2 minutes away is a bar, and 2 minutes away from that is another sporting event, and everything's there. And you have, if you really want public transportation, it's right there, and everything's just so close. And a lot of these cities that I do travel to are near water as well, which I think is also, it has something to do with it, I believe, for myself at least. Maybe it's my roots back in Greece, in the mountains and the water. I don't know, but yeah, I think realizing that, and for myself too, I say I'm from Toronto. I'm from the city. I'm from a suburb in the city. I'm from York, right? Like it's not downtown Toronto.
Midtown, yeah.
It's a midtown. Yeah, I'm from midtown, so it's very different than downtown. And I've grown up very midtown, which is more car dependent than what downtown would be, right? It's closer. It's in the middle between a suburb, like call it Etobicoke, North York, or then Mississauga and all those. It's right in the middle of that. So you still kind of need a car if you're living here. You could get away without one, but you're still going to be walking, 20 minutes to a grocery store and 20 minutes to anything good. And transportation is going to take you a lot longer, but still good. But I've never really experienced the living downtown right in the middle of the city. And it's something that I think I should experience at least.
And now's your chance.
Now's my chance, I guess. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
But I think but there's different neighborhoods in the city, right? Like you can go to different parts. Like even here, St. Clair West, where we are, it's amazing on St. Clair West. There's everything you want. There's grocery stores. There's pharmacies. There's doctor offices, restaurants, bars, transportation. Anything you really want is there. And if you live really close to that, that's why a lot of our investments and our properties that we manage are in that area, because it is so walkable. It actually is like a mini downtown, because back in the day, it was kind of a mini downtown of York, right? Like that was the kind of the hub. You have Eglinton, the same thing on Eglinton. So you have different streets. Bloor Street, another hub. Like that's the beauty of it. And you have that in different cities as well. Even in Mississauga, if you're close to that strip, it's different. Their blocks are huge in Mississauga. It's a little different.
You can get by here even in the suburbs. Like if we're comparing us to NYC, that's unfair. We're not quite there. We're definitely way behind them.
We're way far off.
But we're not terrible. Like you could live in the suburbs and not own a car. It's just going to be inconvenient. So it's how much.
Pretty inconvenient.
Yeah.
Pretty inconvenient.
Like my brother-in-law lives Bloor and Bathurst, and he's lived there for like 12, 15 years. Never owned a car. He'll do a zip car if he needs to visit us in Oakville or Mississauga. But he's never really.
You don't need one Bloor and Bathurst at all. Yeah.
And he loves walking. That's the other thing, right? There are people in that neighborhood that do own cars.
Yeah. A lot of the homes in that neighborhood don't even have parking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but he's just always loved walking, and he likes the freedom of being able to do that. So, it's how flexible you want to be and you can be, and really what you want, because there's a lot of people that grow up in suburbs but are desperate to move to the big city as soon as they can afford to, and whether it works out for them or not, just is a matter of like trying it out and figuring out if they actually enjoy it. You can't force yourself to enjoy something or live a certain way. So I've come to me and my wife, we're pretty settled and we're happy with having our car and driving 2 minutes down to the grocery store, but that's not for everyone. And I think for you it's a perfect opportunity to try that out, and who knows, maybe you'll be like, no, I need
my car.
I need my car. I need my comfort.
I need more peace and quiet.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think you're the type that will really will make use of that location. And you're a naturally curious person from what I've seen, so that helps out. If you're not the type to just stick to one schedule or routine, so you should try that and invite me for your house.
Maybe I will. And then, thanks for coming on. Is there anything you want to end off on?
No, I don't want to get emotional, but
You have to end off on something.
yeah, no, I mean, again, like I said in the beginning, it's been a great like journey here, and I think Spiro is the perfect example of where I started and where I ended. Where Spiro was, he's still super young, but he was a kid back then, and still in leasing, and doing the 14-hour grind days, and property management, and but he was very singularly focused towards what he wanted to do, which was sales, and he knew he would be successful. And like it's been 2 years since he's been doing sales full time, and just he's a good example of like a microcosm of the company itself, from like that very rapid growth, but a lot of work put in. So I definitely want to keep in touch with all of them, and come back for the big events, for the big, at least outdoor events here. I don't know if they'll ban me from the office, but
Probably.
I'll be back, and yeah, it'll be good to keep up with everyone's professional career and personal life as well.
You didn't cry. Close.